Well, Tom, your points are being listened to by Maureen in New York, who's a nurse. Maureen, you were very critical of how the church delivers care, saying some people receive far better care than others. Are you not convinced by Tom's argument, which is simply that the Catholic Church, more than any other institution in the world, helps so many people, whether spiritually, with education, or with their health?
Actually, I saw quite a dichotomy, and my brother recently died in a Catholic hospital, and he was on Medicaid. And I saw quite a difference in the amount of money spent, and he was in a couple of famous, I will not tell you, Catholic hospitals in New York. I also did a one-to-one with a patient who was also in a Catholic hospital in New York. I saw a great deal of money spent for patients who came in with very good coverage. When the patients actually were reduced to Medicaid or their money ran out, they were actually reduced back down to wards. At the same time, the new Pope had just been elected, and beautiful brochures were given out and given to my brother. At the same time, they were trying to throw him out because they said Medicaid was not going to pay. He died, actually. I kept him in the hospital for 3 days, and he died in the hospital. But I'm telling you, I saw such a difference, and it was such a shock to me, the hypocrisy, when you saw the statues of the saints as you came in, and the beautiful words of the Catholic Church talking about how they welcome to help the sick and the ill, and care for everybody, and the discrepancy in the way they treated patients.
So, Maureen, I don't want to apologise for interrupting you, and I'm very sorry to hear about your brother, but I want to give Tom a chance to respond, because Tom, this is the accusation a number of people are making to us, which is that on principle, the way the Catholic Church wants to behave is fine, but actually the care that people receive isn't as consistent as it ought to be.
Well, I'm certainly not here to cast any stones, but I think that we can all be honest with one another in saying that the Catholic Church has a secular aspect. And as a secular institution, it's flawed, like all other secular institutions in the history of mankind, by one common factor, which is us. We're people, we're flawed, we're filled with our own corruptions and our own susceptibility to the temptations of the world and of the times. And that common factor is what flaws the secular aspect of what the Catholic Church is. It's made up of men, it's made up of valuable men and women, and it's just as permeable to the problems of every other institution that exists on Earth.
Yeah. Tom, thank you very much for speaking to us from Sao Paulo. Michael wants to make a quick response.
Tom, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Church is made up of men and women, and it needs to show that equal balance, that women have a vital voice to play in the role. The Church has a lot to learn from society as well, in that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. We have moved on, and the Church needs to move on.
You say the Church needs to move on. When we've heard some more messages, I'm very curious to ask all of you exactly how it should do that. But Sheetal, what's come in on the blog in the past few minutes?
T blogs us from New Zealand and saying it's a dogmatic religion with morality not determined by thought and reason but by hierarchy. There are many examples of good in the Catholic Church, but the system is deeply flawed. Alan in Arizona writes, I think all religions mean to do good. Unfortunately, just about everyone has had their dark times when obviously evil actions were condoned in the name of good. And Patty in Cape Coral blogs, I'm afraid I don't think the Catholic Church is a force for good, although there are quite a few in the Church that have their heart in the right place. You can tell us what you think. Blog at worldhaveyoursay.com.
Sheetal, thank you very much. Let's go straight from you to Nairobi. Father Joseph, do you accept the Catholic Church needs to change? And if it does, can you give me one or two examples of what it should do?
The Catholic Church has been there for the Church since the foundation of Jesus, 2,000 years. Yeah. And as such, we do not expect the Church to change. It's the individual to change their hearts. That whatever, it's me and you, who are all Christians, we go to church on Sunday or all throughout the week. But what comes, a change is a conversion of the heart, not the change of the institution or change of the Pope or change of the Bishop. It's just the conscience. Yeah, the inner conversion of the heart is what we are calling on, and that's what we tell the people.
I think that the church does need to change, because it can't stay in this. It needs to modernise. It needs to reform its views on homosexuality, abortion, contraception. Because when it comes down to it, it is about your own morals. Everyone believes that the Ten Commandments are a stable way of living. You know.
I've got to ask you. I'm sure lots of people watching are wondering. You're saying it's got to change in all these fundamental issues, and yet, as a 16-year-old, you've decided to convert to Catholicism.
No, because I like the organisation, the discipline. I do like that, but at the same time, there is a kind of unfair inequality between, you know, males and females in the church. I accepted that when I converted, but it would be a good thing to change, especially to get more people to go.
And also with people like Layla, hopefully she's going to have a huge role to play coming in as a young person in the modernisation of that church. But going back to what Father Joseph said, with all due respect, Father Joseph, you know, other institutions aren't the same as they were 2,000 years ago. Our own country, if we were still the same as we were 2,000 years ago, we wouldn't have a modern parliament, a modern system, a modern social system. The church has got to keep the essentials, the fundamentals right, absolutely, but the way they are presented to the modern world has to be for the modern world. And I'm afraid the Catholic Church is in the Dark Ages still.
Father Joseph, do you want to respond?
Yes, I would like to respond. The church, people may think, the Catholic Church, people may think that it's slow, but we are slow but sure. Where we have come from, 2,000 years today, there are many changes which have taken place. And even if we need modernization, we want to change things. We better change inside of our hearts, then we can make modernization right, whereby there's not too much secularism, there's too much modernity, everything goes with the fashion. Because somebody is doing so everything A, B, C, D, I should do it because the fashion. No. Just what is your voice telling you, your inner voice?
So Father Joseph, you used a very interesting phrase. You said slow but sure. I just wonder, Anna Maria, is the Catholic Church slow but sure or slow but wrong? Does it need to change fundamentally very quickly?
Very quickly, because it's we're having a lot of issues also in Italy at the moment with pedophilia inside the Catholic Church. And this is already, we've got a lot of TV programs that are proving it, and the community is quite shocked and horrified. So how would you expect parents to send their children to a Catholic institution, be it a church or be it a school? Okay, when pedophilia is a big issue in the church.
And I think, to be fair, Anna Maria, lots of Catholics have got in touch with us in the last week and said this is an issue which our church needs to address head on. Let's quickly ask Maureen in New York. You've spoken about the frustrations of your brother's treatment. Is there any other area of the Catholic Church where you think it needs to change soon if it's to fit into our modern world?
I think when you spoke about transparency, that's a very important issue. The Vatican is not transparent. I mean, they have cattle ranches in South America that take place in a rainforest. There is so much money, and I've seen it in poor neighborhoods, where churches are being built, and yet we need real facilities for the homeless, for the soup kitchens, and I don't see the church funding these essential needs. And I mean, if you talk about Jesus Christ, this is not the way it should be.
No, exactly.
You say that's not the way it should be.
Just what Maureen's just saying, there is no mechanism, it seems to me, for feeding that in where it needs to be fed from the voice of the people directly to where it needs to be heard. It's always filtered up through the hierarchy, and it's the people's voice that needs to be heard.
The people's voice needs to be heard. What does that actually mean in practice, though? Well,
exactly. How do you do it? I mean, in our democracy, we do it through our MPs and putting our MPs in and voting and who we want in. I mean, really, if you go back to the early church, linking in with what Father Joseph said 2,000 years ago, it was the people who voted for the bishops, it was the people who voted for their leaders, and that's what should be happening now.
I can see Layla itching to make a follow-up point. We're completely out of time, Layla. I'm sorry. Maybe we can go onto the blog and carry this on. But thank you very much, Mike and Layla. Thanks very much to Maureen in New York, Father Joseph in Nairobi, Anna Maria in Rome, and of course Sheetal from the World Have Your Say team. It's been very good to speak to you all today. Thanks very much for all of your contributions. World Have Your Say is also on BBC Radio later. We're going to be discussing if being open about your mental health risks discrimination from friends and colleagues. You can listen to that at bbcworldservice.com from 18 hours GMT. I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.